The topic that I decided to speak about today was doing it for others. The truth is always contradictory. At the same time, the knowledge says, the teachings say that you should take care of yourself. Otherwise, you become like a burden to others and to the rest of the world. But at the same time, it says that things that are done for others always has better favor with the universe than things done for yourself. So if you are self-centered, if you are just focused on what you want to achieve, what you want to get in this life, it only goes that as far as that. It doesn't explode. It doesn't really become just the best that it can be. Just the best that it can be. Every age, we always feel like, perhaps this was the age where people have become very interested in themselves, but this has happened through the ages, and you see it evolving through history, because history always repeats itself in cycles. So it starts with everyone wanting and loving others. I remember that, say 3 generations back, my family, they lived in a joint family. Right? So there was a mother and the father, and then their children, and then their grandparents were living there, and there was an old aunt, an old mother. Everybody was there in the family, and the interests of the family were much more important than your personal interest. The interest of, you never thought of personal space, or fact that you needed to express yourself in a certain way, or that having people around you was stifling you. It was always the general good of the family, the general good of the world. It was always the question of my family, my village, my community, my country, my world. So personal sacrifices were always upheld and in such a setting. But what happened after 2 generations is that my mother and father started living by themselves. And we learned that we had our own bedrooms, we had people to take care of our needs, we had our own space. And it has gone further in the generation after us. Not only do they have their own bedrooms, but you can't go in without knocking on their doors. They have their personal space, their personal time, their way of doing things, and even parenthood when they get married, like when we got married, 35 years ago, I think my husband and myself just attended our wedding. Everything was done by our parents. The entire guest list was who my parents wished to invite to celebrate their daughter's wedding, and my husband's parents. So that was how it was done back then. Today, the parents are just, by some stroke of luck, get to attend their daughter's wedding or their son's wedding. They are not even part of it. They pay for it, all right, but they are not even considered. Their friends cannot be invited. It is not their event at all. So things have changed. Things have changed. I'm not judging it. It is what is. It is just different from what we did in our time. Parenting has also become very different, right? It was always the children were brought up by the whole family. You never worried when you had your grandmothers and parents around in the house. You took naps whenever you wanted. Food was ready. Everything was taken care of. what has happened with the nuclear family is that everybody is now in charge. You see that the mother and father are put under a lot of pressure. The rules have changed. Children can't watch TV. So, children can't watch TV, but by the time they have their second, third child, the rules change slightly. Children can have some TV. And then if you're put into a household like we are now, we're on lockdown. And we're put into a situation where everybody is on different schedules. We can't run our personal rules in a group setting. It doesn't work. It never works. And you have to come to some sort of an understanding that you live for the good of the whole family, so that everybody does well. One person's rule does not work. So things have changed a lot. And I always used to feel that children brought up in this country are too accustomed to having their privacy, their private space, their way of doing things, and just did not know how to do things for others. Just for no reason, for no personal gain. And this is the reason that there is so much depression in this world. So much depression. Because people are all the time thinking about me, this is about me, what about me, what about me. And the ego sense in us is extremely strong. And it is never satisfied. One of the key features of an ego sense is that it can never be satisfied. No matter how much you give, no matter what you do, the ego wants more. So the idea of doing for others, the ego sits up and says, hey, what about you? Now, if you keep doing this for others, you're a loser. You're just a sucker for getting sucked into things like this. You're always the one doing all the work. You're the one that does everything. Everybody else takes you for granted. And we're listening to these internal messages. And we're denying ourselves one of the greatest pleasures. When you do for others without expecting anything in return, the joy that you get from it is limitless. It has no limits. That joy, what comes back from doing for others, is 100 times more than what you can get for doing for yourself. Because as soon as you do the first thing for yourself, there's another thing that you need to do for yourself, and then there's another thing that you need to do for yourself, and there's another. And you're just preventing yourself from just sharing the joy. Sharing the joy. It's as if you lose something when you do for somebody else. I have my stuff to do. I've got to do this. I've got to take care of this. I have my work. I have no time for you. Yet when you want something, you're quite ready to expect everyone to drop everything else and come and attend to you, right? And we as parents, we know that, right? We drop everything. Our kids call, we drop everything and we run. But have we brought up our children to drop everything and do for others? Have you brought them up to sacrifice their bed when they have visitors and sleep in the living room? Doesn't matter if their back aches for a night, but when they have visitors. Because in India, I don't know about any other place, in India, we never even give it a second thought. When our parents' friends visited us, it was just understood that we were sleeping in the living room and that the bedroom would be given to them. See, this is what comes from just doing for others. And because we live in such an insular way and we come first, I come first, my group come first, my family come first, my clan come first. We're cutting ourselves, building artificial walls around us, cutting ourselves from the rest of the world. And nobody else will match up to you. Nobody else is good enough for you. They belong to a different caste. I come from a very fancy Brahmin family, and my family comes from the aristocracy of Cuba. We are the chosen few from Israel. So we all have this feeling that we are different, we are special. And yes, while you are special, you cannot live in this world without the cooperation, without the care of others. And right now we're in the midst of a terrible world crisis. And in this crisis, we are all equally involved in it. We are all equally at stake in it. Everything that this country does affects other countries too. You cannot think that, I am America. It's not going to happen. Yes, we thought that a few months ago. And see where we are now. The solution to this problem does not come from making a vaccine just for Americans. It comes from creating a vaccine that's available for the rest of the world, for the entire world, And unless we do that, and unless we create a vaccine for the entire world, we are going to be affected. It's all about cooperation. It's all about reaching to others. If the solution to this problem is insular, it will not go away. We have to start thinking of the world as one unit. Only then will we tackle the big problems of climate change, of global awareness. Only then will we develop that understanding that people in less privileged countries require your help. And not just that 2 minutes when you're just glancing up from your phone to hear some passing news on CNN or Fox, whatever it is that you watch, about some calamity somewhere. That compassion will arise in you and you as you do for others. The more you do, the more you will receive. The more you think about just yourself, the more you will fester in your mind, the less you will receive. That is the way of the world. That is the way. The time now is to do all your actions not for yourself. You may be bored. You may not have money for a month. But going out and getting back to the way things were might endanger your entire community. Are you willing to take on that responsibility? Let's be responsible. Let's think of others. Let's live this life in service of others. It's like pouring ghee into a fire when you offer something as a sacrifice. As you pour ghee into a fire, the flames only go higher and higher. The results, ask anyone who does voluntary work in a church, for the various churches, for various organizations. The satisfaction you get from serving food to a hungry child is you cannot compare it. You cannot compare it to giving your child the 100th toy. There is no comparison. Your child will have that 100th toy and in 5 minutes will be ready for toy number 101. There's no ending to that. It is limitless. You're teaching your child about only having things for themselves. No, the way to get over everything, the way to develop is to start doing for the whole world. There is only one, and we connect to them in meditation. We connect to them in one consciousness, and then the perfume of compassion rises within us, and that cannot be actually explained to anyone. It has to be experienced. It comes after years and years of reflection, years and years of meditation, and it begins right now in the moment. which we're going to do right now, right? We're going to get into meditation, and we're going to send our energy to anyone else in the world that requires it. To all the people out there that really, really need your energy, your attention, your kind words, your kind thoughts. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you like the content, hit the red subscribe button. I'm also on Facebook on my author page, Kanchana Krishnan Iyer, and I'm also on Instagram. See you there. I'll link it down below.